Morning guys, so welcome back to NZ Marko Outlaw Kustoms again. So, in the last video, we got this wheel arch sorted, and we started cleaning up the chassis. It's back here. It had minor flash rusting on it from sitting under an open shed. So you had to go through it and wire wheel it and Scotch-Brite disc it to clean it up a little bit, and then we painted some rust protection on it, or treater converter, sprayed that on it, and rust remover, metal conditioner. I actually quite like this stuff. I'll have to get some more because I'm just about out, so I'll use a bit of it underneath this on all this old steel shortly. Well, once I've welded that patching and give it a bit of a scrub up, and we'll knock a few tack welds down and whatever from holding bits of metal on and whatever, because I've got to get some metal bracing out of there as well, out of the road. But yeah, I hope to get these all etched today, because I'll get this all sorted and then I'll etch this as well as I etch that at the same time. At least the top side of the chassis, and then we'll get it flipped over and we'll give it another wee scrub down. Because yesterday I put some just general purpose thinners in this, not much, you know, but in the bottom, and sort of gave this a good spray and soak, and went around with a Scotch-Brite type pad, gave it a really good scrub to get any residue from that off after we cleaned it back anyway, with wire wheels and those Scotch-Brite discs again. Like we went over this with this first, and the wire brush to get any rust off that we could see, and then put the metal conditioner rust remover on, and then we went back over it with these again to clean all that off after it dried for a day-ish, half a day. And then yeah, gave it a good soak with this, and went around it twice with this in the last video. So it's basically ready to etch, and then we'll do a couple of repairs on it. We've got well, it's not really any repairs, but got to replace some rivets in that front cross member on that side and get a couple of broken bolts out, and then this is actually ready for paint. Basically after that, if you know, once it's etched, it'll be ready for paint. May put a light coat of primer on it, we'll see, and then paint it. But yeah, I want to basically do the same to this. We get this cleaned up, get it etched, and then I'm going to spray some texture coat underneath it, which is that stuff there. We end up using this. I need to get some more, but we end up using basically the same thing, or a different brand, but the same thing, if you know what I mean. I'm going to put a decent coat of that underneath here, and then I really don't have to worry about it again, you know, apart from putting a coat of paint in here, you know, a quick coat of paint to seal the bottom of it up. And that's that done then. That basically means that at some point, we put the body back on the chassis. It's a bit of a curse, this thing, because of that gearbox, the way that cross member and everything slides in. But once we get the gearbox and the motor cleaned up, that can go on permanently too, and then the body can go on and be bolted down permanently, and then we can work on the rest of it. It's a bit of a fucking pain in the ass that the motor and box has got to go in before anything else. But it kind of is what it is. It would be nice to be able to not have that in there and then slip it in like the Studebaker, but the way it's built, it's a bit of a curse. So anyway, we'll get this patch made, we'll get that cleaned up, and we'll get these both ready for etch, and then we can move on with something else, which will be probably really screwing around with the suspension, and then at some point we'll get this turned up the other way and we'll fix the little bits and pieces it needs, and there's a bit of welding to do to connect this back to this part of the body, you know, where it joins, because it's easy obviously to weld that when it's up the other way. and there's a few cracks and a couple of little tiny patches sort of on the top part of the body, and yeah, I think there's a couple of little patches on this back section. I don't think there's anything else actually. Might be a few, I think there's a few cracks and bits and pieces to weld up. And then we've got to do a little bit of woodwork to replace the wood in the back of that body at some point with the hinged seat piece. At least when we get up the other way and we get it bolted back on here eventually, once we're kind of ready for that, we can get some of that stuff, because we'll be able to take that bracing off and clean all that up. Get that patch made, and at least then we can get the bottom of it finished, treated and painted and whatever. So we'll get into that. Righty, so got our piece of metal bent up. Obviously I'll do a little bit of trimming on it. I'll just mark it out where I'm going to trim it, and then it's going to be welded in that way. So I'll cut this out, we'll bore a couple of holes in here and nick those slits out, which obviously fit underneath these holes. And then we can, yeah, weld that in that way. And we'll be done then. Oh, and then we're going to, yeah, just do a little bit of hammer and dolly work where I should have just cut this off. I just bent it up to get a bit of a look underneath there, but I should have just cut it off like I did in the end. So it wouldn't have distorted this quite so much, but it'll be fine by the time I've finished and done a little bit of hammer and dolly work and a little bit of mud across there. It's going to have to have mud. Anyway, it's been joined before, so like a little skim, you know, with 16th or whatever across the back, you know. It's the way it is. You know, we'll do a little bit of hammer and dolly work on the sides, and it's going to be body filler in it anyway, so it's, as long as it's not, you know, fucking like that thick. Actually, I seen a picture the other day, and it was down the side of something, I don't know, it looked like it was 50s, and it was fucking an inch thick, where this guy had grounded away on the side of a car. I can't even remember what it was on. But yeah, it was an inch thick, because there was a ruler in there, showing how much body filler was inside of this vehicle. And I think I've seen cars like that. I remember working on a car years ago with a friend at school. We did a panel beating course when we were in high school, and he was working on an old Ford Falcon Ute from the 70s. Like this was in, I don't know, would have been late 80s, I guess, very end of the 80s, 89, might have been 90. I think it would have been sort of like 89ish. Second year of high school, third year of high school, might have been 1990. Can't remember exactly. But anyway, we were working on this old Falcon Ute, and it was, the whole thing was just body filler. It had rotted out at some stage, and somebody had obviously just slathered this thing in body filler to hide the rust. And yeah, that's why there's a lot of safety inspections here now. No, like back in the day, like it just got worse and worse and worse. So yeah, yeah, this thing was, it was, I don't know if it was an inch thick in places, but it fucking may as well have been, you know. The whole thing was just body filler from one end to the other, and it was, you know, it wasn't just a little bit, you know, like a skim here and there, and to fill the odd imperfection. Like it was at least half an inch thick, if not thicker in places. It was incredible. I remember it really well. You know, it was one of those first jobs, apart from doing stuff with Dad, that I, you know, was helping somebody out, you know, when we were young and learning. And yeah, we're doing some rust repair on it and making some patches to fix some stuff that we knew there was a thing. And every time we dug into it to, you know, cut out this bit of rust, we thought there was just more body filler, and we ended up just grinding body filler off the thing everywhere. It was fucking incredible. I couldn't believe it. Now, we'll get this couple bits out and trimmed up, and we'll get this welded in.
Pull the covers off cruise out to the show. Kick it into high gear. Now we let go. And if you're feeling weary, I feel like you gotta scream. Then let's go for a ride in a shiny machine. There's no time to be humble, smiling at the sound of an echoing rumble. Hit the open road, push the pedal to the ground. Heavy metal thunder, smoke and lightning, it's time to pump up the sound. If you're in a worry, we know what you need. Let's go for a ride. Yeah, the shiny machine. Let's go!
Righty, so we got that welded in. Had to chase a bit of thin steel. Well, I did have like a little cut in there, but it just kept blowing away around it. So I think we've got that pretty good. Now we're just going to need to give it a grind up and a clean up, and then give this wee dolly and flatten out that piece. Yeah, we'll just flatten it out and put it back on, weld it back on, and we'll be done there. But anyway, so we'll get on with that, and yeah, we'll come back to you shortly. Right, I was going to do a video painting this on, but you actually see it's working actually quite well. It's been on there for a few minutes. Actually just talking to a guy, he just dropped some info off on the old Land Rover out there, with some places to talk to and get workshop manuals and bits and pieces from, and some places to go if we need parts, so that's quite handy. So I've been talking to him for, I don't know, 20 minutes I suppose, probably not quite that long, but so yeah, I just keep painting this on as I was talking to him. But yeah, so that should be pretty good now. I haven't really done the stuff I've obviously new, but I did paint around the edges of that piece. And yeah, I don't think I've really done anything else, because this is all the rest. This is all pretty much new. But yeah, we'll give that all a clean up hopefully after lunch. It'll be reasonably dry and cleaned up, and we'll better get in there and give it a good scrub up, and then we'll give it a quick wash down with the same thing. You know, we'll give it a scrub with paint thinner, whatever you want to call it. We'll give it a scrub with that with Scotch-Brite and whatever afterwards, giving it a quick wire brush off and whatever, just to make sure it is clean. But yeah, it's pretty good. You might just give it another wee brush in there. Yeah, definitely cleans the metal up. It's good stuff actually. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, you know, that you gotta, it's one of those ones, you know, you gotta clean off, but it does work very well. It cleans the steel up pretty quick. Even if you give it a bit of a scrub backwards and forwards, the old messed up paintbrush, it, and you can see it moving. So we're basically ready to go there. We'll come back after lunch and we'll attack it. Right, so we're back here after lunch, and it's still quite wet. I might just wipe it down. It looks like it's done its job. I might wipe it down with a rag, and then we'll try and clean it up. I actually lift the door partly up to try and get it in here and just have to dry it. It's weird. The temperature's not very hot. We've had some really strange weather. They say it's frickin' meant to global warming, or frickin' we haven't had much, but summer, like, the weather was better frickin' now a month ago, what has been now. We've had the odd hot day, but you know, fucking nothing to write home about, you know what I mean? So, these rags, and we'll just give it a wipe, just to get rid of the wet stuff. And we'll run over with a wire brush, I think. And then we'll give it a wipe down with Scotch-Brite pad and some thinner in here. Righty, so unfortunately, sorry I thought I was frickin' recording there, but I wasn't. This stuff hasn't dried enough. It's, as soon as I try to scrub it down with the thinners, it goes all gummy. Because I try to wire it wheel with that little wire wheel on the die grinder. But yeah, it's because it's still wet, it's not removing it, sort of stirring it around, which is fine, but yeah, it needs to be fully dry basically, and then hit it with a wire brush and whatever and get it all off, and then give it a good scrub down with the thinners, unfortunately, because it's almost like diamond glue. It's like sticky. Yeah, it's just, there's not enough heat in the day, obviously, to dry it out properly. It's not cold, but it's not hot, if you know what I mean. We're sort of, I don't know, I'd have to check the temperatures, but it wouldn't be any more than sort of 14 degrees C, 15 degrees C, I would imagine. And it's overcast and there's a wee bit of a breeze, so it's keeping it sort of a bit cooler than that. But it's cool enough to have a long sleeve top on work. It doesn't worry me, if you know what I mean. But it's not hot, but it's not cold either, if you know what I mean. I could probably go with a t-shirt on, it wouldn't worry me, but sort of one of those, 1.5 dozen the other. But yeah, I really need it to dry properly so I can clean it off. But, which is a bit of a pain, so I think what we'll do is I'll have a cover all this stuff up properly. I was showing somebody around that earlier on when they turned up just before lunch when I was brushing that shit on. So I think what I'll do is I'll cover that up properly, cover up a bit of other stuff over here, and the bike and that little tow behind weed spray cart, and we'll mix up a bit of the etch, and we'll give this a quick flick, and then I'll work out what the heck I'm going to do after that. To be honest, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do after that. I might have an early day, I think, and just because the etch will dry pretty quick, but I don't want to be making a big massive mess if I'm going to give that a quick clean up and scrub it and then flick some more etch on it. So what I may do is flick that with some etch, and then bugger off and maybe come back a bit later on and see if that's dried up enough that I can give it another go over and see if it'll come off and clean up, and then we can give it another scrub down and flick some etch on there. Or do I just bugger off and leave it for a while? So I'd rather mix the shit once. Yeah, we might just bugger off and leave it for a while, as much as I don't want to do that. Maybe another hour or so, still early enough today, and then come back later on and blow some etch on it. Yeah, I might do that. Might shoot around and see mum and dad for a while, something like that. But yeah, it needs another hour or two to dry off properly, just because of the temperature. It's just not warm enough. And then I can clean it up and I can etch both things at once, and I don't have to frickin' rinse the gun out or clean the gun or whatever, you know, twice sort of thing. Yeah, that'll do. Right, we'll catch you later on. Unfortunately, yeah, it just isn't dried good enough to clean up. It stays sticky, so there's no point fighting with it, and I don't think there's much point etching that and then mixing up another lot and rinsing out the gun and then doing it twice. I may as well clean the gun once. So yeah, and I haven't got a lot else to do. I was going to basically etch this stuff and bugger off. Like, I could start cleaning up some of those other stuff and mucking around, but it's kind of not much point at the moment, you know. I'd rather get this stuff on and whatever, because I was basically going to etch it and leave it for a bit and then come back and start spraying some of that extra undercoat on it, but the texture undercoat. But yeah, I ain't going to get that done today. It might be a tomorrow job. Anyway, catch you later on. Morning, so welcome back. So this stuff looks like it's pretty much dried up, which is good. So I think what we'll do is hit this with a wire wheel and give it a good scrub down. And I'm going to try and get some etch on this stuff this morning. So I'm going to cover up the Studebaker and that bike and bits and pieces, and we'll mix up some stuff. I've got some more the underbody sealer stuff coming. Different brand to the 3M. They recommended, he said, I've got that. He said this other stuff is way nicer to use. I'm not sure what the price difference is. I didn't ask. I'll find out when I get the email for the invoice. But yeah, it's actually the same brand as the body filler and the highball primer and stuff that I've got, which is that Robolo. So that'll be interesting to see what it's like. Apparently it sprays on blue and then turns black. So that'll be interesting to watch. So when we do down the side of this, but yeah, so we'll get the stuff cleaned up and everything like that. But yeah, also all the bright works should turn up here today for the Studebaker. So next week, I think we'll be back on Studebaker for a bit, you know, getting it all back together and trying to get it to run. I've got to go through and write down some wiring stuff that we need. I just haven't got back to that because I've been trying to get this to the point where it can go back on the frame at some point, so we can finish off the body, or finish, you know, cleaning up and whatever, and doing some hammer and dolling and whatever, or at least get it up out of the way. I'll stop waffling, we'll get into it. Righty, I've already made this piece, but I got interrupted with a phone call, and I can't remember where it was at. So you see me just winding backwards and forwards. I was grinding a spanner down, a 716. It's an old ratchet one that's pretty crappy. Fed for a long time. I've already broken one of these. Actually broke the head off it, or half the head off it, because I've got this one die grinder with the wire brush in it, and you can see it's not having got a very big gap in there, whereas all the rest have actually got quite a reasonable gap. Like you can get a spanner in there easy, or a wrench, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Even this one here is not too bad, but this one here is actually 12mm, which is weird. On that bottom, I've tried an 11, I've tried a 716, they don't fit. So one day I might actually file that face down a little bit, just so not having to try it. 12mm for to change the fitting on it, but I've got it from my main Rolex anyway. Just fucking throw it on the ground, why don't you? So yeah, I just ground this one down to fit in here, and at least I'll just use it for everything, use it for all of them. But yeah, bit of a pain, but this one's always been funny, and I've always had like those little thin, stupid little short things that come with it, which I've never really used. I've always tried to force a spanner into this one, but it's always been a bit awkward. And depending on what you got in here, sometimes it's closer, you know, depending on what, because some of these here are different size. Some of them are a quarter, and some of them are, they must be 6mm or 5mm or something like that, which is close to quarter, but it's slightly different. I've actually got both fittings here, the little piece, but it's so close that sometimes you can get one or the other in. But if you put the other in the big one, the smaller shaft stuff, which they seem to be for some reason, like typical, like, you know, things that between imperial measurements, you know, American standard, you know, like 1/2 inch and whatever, 2mm. There's always, people always make the thing that's close to the equivalent in different countries. You know, just with those two different measurements, you always end up with weird in between sizes. You know, some things will fit some things and some things won't fit others, because you've got both the the little jaw things for both. I've got a few spare ones, but you always end up with the wrong thing and the wrong thing sometimes. They do both fit, but one will be, the bigger one's tighter than the small one, and the other one's looser than the other one. So if you put it in there, you end up with this even closer. So that's why I ground down the spanner so I can undo it, because I want that smaller wire wheel, just so I can get in amongst the stuff a bit better, and it'll be spinning a bit easier and a bit faster. So I'm just about finished here, but yeah, I just want to change this over so I can have stop. I couldn't find a freaking spanner for ages. But so yeah, I'll carry on, get this cleaned up a bit further, and then we'll give it a scrub, and then we'll mix up some of that edge and cover this vehicle, which I haven't done yet, and the other stuff. Quickly throw some covers over them just so they're not getting overspray on it. Righty, I turned the camera off because I was just mucking around trying to freaking clean up. But that's the first rag from wiping the bottom of that car. After we initially scrubbed it down with the, what do you want to call it, thinners, but it kind of, I wouldn't say it reactivated what was left, sorry, camera away from the light. It kind of reactivated what was left, and it sort of fluffed up again. So I run back over with, seen with a little wire wheel, and I even used the Scotch-Brite pad at the end, just to try and clean everything else off lightly, like sort of where it was nice and flat. I run over that pretty good. I'm not too worried about underneath it really, but still want it to be decent. So to just try and get that residue cleaned off the best I can. Biggest problem with those Scotch-Brite things, as soon as you run over a hole, it just tears in pieces and they disappear really fast. But if you're working on a big open panel with basically no holes in it, they'll last for quite a long time. But as soon as you start running over holes and bits and pieces and edges, they just tear themselves to pieces, especially a hard edge, not so much like a folded panel edge, but if you get it like a bit of an edge, like, you know, where the steel's overlapped and stuff like that, even though it's probably smooth and all the edges worn off, it still tears it off quick. So yeah, then I did that again, and I quickly wiped over it again with the Scotch-Brite and the Prep White, wax and grease remover, what do you want to call it. It's the brand I'm using here at the moment. It's Pacer, because that's what I had left over from the Studebaker. I've got another brand in there to go back onto here later on if we run out of what's in there. You may as well use what you got first. So I've wiped them down, both down with the scrubby brush, and I've just done the first wipe with the cloth on this. So I'll give it another one with another clean cloth. We'll start with another clean cloth and we'll give it another wipe down, and then I'll wipe down the chassis, and depending on the time, then I'll mix up a bit of, I actually need to blow a bit of thinners or something through that blue gun, because I haven't used it for so freaking long. Make sure it still sprays okay, because we lost that spring for a while, and then when I had a massive clean up here when we were about to start this, I found it again. I thought it was lost, because I'd had it fairly good hunt a couple of times, but I managed to find it. So we'll try that gun out. I'll put the etch primer through it and see how it goes, because I'll just use it for, you know, for painting stuff that's not quite so critical, you know, just suspension parts and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be super pretty. And same with that other gun, you know, we'll use that for just doing crappy stuff, you know what I mean, stuff that doesn't matter quite so much if it's not pretty, like brackets and whatever. You know, if I'm using two different colours or something like that, I can use one for the other, one for something else. So yeah, we'll keep that good. I want bits here which I really need to put in the cupboard and put away and clean. Keep clean. I actually want to put my guns in there, but I just haven't quite got around to sorting it out. But yeah, this one here we'll keep for obviously top coats. To be honest, I would really like another gun for doing clear, but for this is just base straight out 2-pack base coat, like high gloss. So I don't really need a clear gun yet, but I will get one. You know, if I do another job shortly, probably not that Land Rover, but something else where I need a decent clear gun, then I will get myself probably another one, but instead of a 1.3, I'll get a 1.4, because clear is always thicker. Generally, so you want a slightly bigger tip so you can pour it on a bit thicker. But anyway, we'll keep wiping, and yeah, we'll come back to when it's clean. Once it's clean, I don't see the point you watching speed scrubbing it enough, whatever on camera and running around. So we'll keep wiping down. Right, so second rig, third one. It's still a bit dirty and shitty, but I'm pretty happy with that for underneath the car. If we're doing the outside body work, I'd get fussier. You know, I'd make sure that cloth was almost really clean, if you know what I mean. But I think, you know, that'll do for the underneath. It's not super critical. It needs to be 100% spotless, but you know, it should be pretty clean now. Like if I went around for another rag, I think it would be fine, but I don't think there's much point, if you know what I mean. So we'll give the chassis wipe down. I'll just use that same rag for start off. Don't get rid of the worst of the shit. Or actually, I might use that one and then that one, and then give it maybe another quick wipe with a cleaner rag, just to make sure it is reasonably clean again. Again, it doesn't need to be really dead on, perfectly spotless, because you know we're not worrying about outside bodywork and what you're looking at all the time. You know, it's the chassis. 90% of it's going to be covered up and driving down the road covered in road grime. We just want it to be, you know, freaking 99% clean. That's probably good enough for the chassis. You know, we're not building a show car, so as long as it, you know, if you wipe it around 2 or 3 times, plus it's already been wiped with thinners, it's not as though there's any contaminants or anything on it. You know, it might be just a little bit of crap left, but you know, it's going to get another turn over and another wipe down anyway tomorrow, so it'll be clean. It'll be as clean as it's going to get anyway. Righty, so I used basically the last 2 rags I used in the body. I used them one on each side of the chassis, and that was the 3rd one. So it's not really clean, but hey, that'll be pretty good. Oh, that was the whole thing after the first 2 initial wipe downs. So it's, again, like I said, it's the chassis. It's pretty fucking clean, but it's not what I do for outside paint job, or if I was building a show, you know, like a show quality car, you know. But I'm pretty happy with that. It's I think it's all it really needs for what it is. So yeah, you know, it's all time too at the end of the day. So I think we'll try a bit of thinners in that old blue gun. We'll give that a quick spray, make sure it's working okay. If not, I'll use one of the other ones, and we'll mix up the ditch. So, and then we'll mix up at least a cupful anyway, and we'll go from there. You know, if I need more, I need more. If I don't, I don't. So yeah, we'll just give we'll give it all a reasonable coverage, I guess. That doesn't need to be heavy or anything like that. It's just to seal it. So basically, that'll be ready to put the texture coat over top, and then that there can be, you know, we're going to do a couple of minor repairs, replace a few rivets and get those couple of bolts out and do a couple of little straightens on it, on those outriggers. And I think there's that middle cross member has got or the one that's with the hand brake and the brake lever go on, it's got a bit of a bulge in the front of it for some funny reason. I'm not sure why. Whether we look at that and just that might get straightened too, but apart from that, yeah, it'll be this, and then might get a light coat of primer and paint it black, and then obviously this will be texture coated. Right, so that's all done. Yeah, I probably got more each on there than I really need. That's kind of what it is, unknown product. I think next time I'll probably don't need to thin it down, but I might just reduce it a little bit. Come on, get out of here. I'm not freaking tripping over it. But yeah, pretty much this is going to be the only coat of primer underneath here anyway, so a little bit extra on it's not going to hurt for each. So after lunch, this will be dry after lunch, and I should have my stone guard stuff here after lunch. So we'll better mask. I'll mask off along this edge. I don't really want, as I said, undercoat down here, but in here I'm not going to panic. I'll just mask it off down here somewhere, and if it blows a wee bit in there, it's not going to matter because it's going to be cleaned up and a bit more body work. I wouldn't say body work, but a little bit more mucking around. I've got a little weld in there to weld those braces when it's back out the other way and shit, so big clean up and ground off in there anyway. Especially the missus by the sounds of it. So yeah, we're good to go. Chassis is coated, that'll get an extra bit when it's up the other way, so we're pretty much good, that's good time since she's here. Right, we'll catch you later on. Alrighty, so it's after lunch. So I'm going to use this because there's a bit in there, not a lot. We'll use that for a start off. We'll just straighten it underneath here, and then the rest of it we'll do another coat over top with this. This is the Rubberlow version of this. This is water based. I think this is is this water based or not? Yeah, so it's clean up with acrylic with thinners, whereas that's clean up with water. So I'm actually wondering if this is going to be compatible if I spray one over the top of the other. I might pay to frickin' just put that on. Might be better off just to use that other one, I think. Otherwise we might end up in the crap if we mix the two too much. So I'll put that on there. I'll give this a wee blowout. I think I might even empty one of those here somewhere and suck a bit of shit through there just to blow it out. And then we'll put that on. Put it on. I'll use it for something else at some point. I think I should have a lid here somewhere that I can swap onto it. I'm hoping. And we'll spray it with that. I hate to mix the two and then one of them doesn't go off properly, or we have a reaction or something. So I'll clean this up and we'll start spraying that. Right, so I gave that gun a quick blowout. I just put a little bit of thinners in the bottom of an old paint cup and just blew it through, just to give it a half rinse out. So we'll put a bit of tape on the bottom of this. So we'll just throw a bit of tape on here so we don't have to crap all the way in here. We don't want it. Well, I hasn't quite got a plan. I try to give this a shake up without any water in it. It doesn't really say to add, if you know what I mean. It just says shake well before use. It is water based, so put a wee bit of water in it. I'll sit down for a minute, I'll give it a decent shake, and we'll try it again. But that 3M stuff, I didn't have to put anything in it, if you know what I mean. Just give it a bit of a shake up and sprayed it. But, man, this is like freaking thick as shit. Which is probably not a bad thing, but you're not used to using a product. It's a bit of a pain in the ass when you go to spray it. It won't fucking work. I'll give this a good shake up for a few minutes and I'll come back to you and we'll try again. So it's the first coat. It actually sprays on nice, that stuff. Be interesting. If I didn't have that blockage for a start off, I just managed to get it to spray through without the little bit of water in it. It would have been interesting just to see, but I don't think it'll make much of a difference once I get another couple of coats on there. Probably doesn't need a lot more, but I'd like to put at least another couple, or another one on it anyway. It'll just help seal up any holes and whatever, pinholes and anything that's from some of the bits and pieces I've welded in behind. Just help protect that stuff a bit better. And under the bottom and whatever. But yeah, I'm quite impressed with how it sort of goes on. It's not real thick looking, even though you want a bit of texture on it, but I'm pretty impressed. Apparently it goes black, so we'll find out when it dries, but I'll leave this for, I don't know, 20 minutes I guess, and we'll smash another lot on. You can see I was having problems for a start off trying to spray that shit on because it was a bit, I had a bit of the other crap still in it. I thought it would have come out, but it didn't, but should be right. We'll let it flash for a while and we'll bang another coat on it. You can see it's, I assume it's already going sort of black here. It sort of looks like it's disappearing from in the corners. I don't know. I presume that's either going black or something else is happening. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll let it cure for a bit. Just one thing I will say about this stuff. This Robolo underbody spray. I'm just sitting here waiting on it. Like it's only been a couple of minutes. This stuff. It doesn't really smell. You know, sometimes you get them and you spray them on, they're quite strong smelling. This is not powerful at all. It's quite easy to be around. Like, you know, sometimes you spray that shit and you've got to get out of the shed or the room. I can sit here, like I've only got that far door partly open. This one fully open behind me. But, yeah, there's no real smell behind it, so that's quite good. I quite enjoy that. You know, some of those things that can be really, really powerful, eh? Like the etch was quite strong when we left, but it's dried out now. But yeah, that doesn't. It's got a little bit of smell to it, but it's not strong. It's not overpowering, so that's a good thing. So this is, I don't know, what it'll be, 10 minutes, maybe a wee bit more. Crazy stuff. Slowly sort of goes grey, and then slowly turns black. Obviously, it's not as thick there. But yeah, what mad stuff. Especially with the colour change, it's quite interesting. So yeah, I'll let it go off for a bit longer. I'll wait till it's sort of all starting to sort of change, not so blue. It's actually quite handy because it makes it easy to see what's happening. But yeah, we'll just leave it till some of this other stuff starts changing a bit more. And then we'll smash another coat on it. But yeah, that crazy. Sort of, I'll assume it's Unless it's repelling it here or something stupid, dunno. It's kind of weird. Down there, almost looks like it's repelling it, but maybe another coat and it might stick. Strange, dunno. Because we cleaned the crap out of it, but who knows? Yeah, we'll leave it a bit longer and we'll smash some more on there, I guess. We'll find out. We'll get enough on there it'll frickin' stay on there eventually. Right, we'll come back to you a bit later on. Alrighty, well that's all sprayed on, so not much else I can do at the moment until that dries, so I might head home and have a slightly earlier day again and attack something in the morning. Alright guys, we'll get you later on. Cheers. Alrighty, I actually decided to come back down here. It's about 6 o'clock. I'm just going to flick one more coat on this and then leave it. Now, this is almost completely dry, but not quite, if you know what I mean, from when I left it earlier on. You can see down here it's still hasn't quite gone off, but I think we'll just get one more on it, just so I can see if I can get a bit more in these spots that it's really hard to get, and obviously just give it another one more coat, and then that should make everything fairly well sealed up, I would think. And then it's just a matter of turning it over and doing all the rest of the stuff, and then we can do underneath here and whatever, and later on, and a bit in the back of the body and whatever. But yeah, we'll smash one more coat on it and then I'm going to bugger off. We'll leave it till tomorrow. Yeah, she definitely went tall and thicker this time. I would almost, unless she had some way of shaking out really well, I would almost just put a little bit of water on one of those, even if it was, I don't know, 50 mils or something like that, and then really shake it up so it's just a touch thinner. But maybe if it was really shook up properly, like if it had a decent shaker and gave it a really good shake up, it might be alright, but it was a wee bit more awkward to put on, and it obviously isn't laid out really smooth, but that doesn't really matter. It's doing its job, so that's the main thing. Now it's protecting underneath, and it'll be fine, so that's cool. Pulled all the tape off, so at least we can clean up down the edges and whatever. Like, we're not worried about this sort of stuff, that'll just sand off. And the paint will overlap that anyway, by the time we prime it and whatever, we'll have paint and shit all over it anyway, so it's just to get a good layer in there, and at least now it'll be sealed up. And shit, it's not going to bash on it, and that should help seal, joints and whatever, and bits of weld and what sort of crap, so should be pretty good. It'll be just as well protected, if not way better than it ever was new, so that's cool. And we'll try to get in the best we can into those sort of spots. That's why I concentrated on getting it in there reasonably well. So yeah, that's cool. That's that part of it done anyway. At least we can now probably, we'll see. I may leave it upside down until we get this sorted and blow some paint on it, and then I can just flick a coat of something on there to seal it, especially on the seat base part of it. You know, and probably on the inside edges and stuff like that, where you're not being able to get with the spray gun very easy when it's back up the other way. At least get something on here. So yeah, we might just give it a couple of light coats when we do that. We'll see what happens, but I'm not too worried about that today. I'm done now, so just wanted to come down there and have another quick look and pull that tape off. And yeah, it was half by contemplating putting another coat on. I thought, oh well, might as well, you know. I thought, well, with it being a bit thicker, with not being thinned down and whatever, you know, it might go on a bit thicker, and it definitely did. But yeah, I actually quite like that product, especially thinned. Or if the temperature was probably hotter, it would probably go a bit runnier, and it would probably go on a bit like it did when I put that first couple of coats on. But yeah, it's not a bad product, and I quite like the colour change. It makes it, like I've said a few times, makes it easy to see what's going on. You know, you can say, oh shit, you know, I might leave that a bit and it's a bit wet there still, or whatever. And I'll just let that cure off before bang another coat on it. But, which is kind of handy, I think. It's not a bad idea. I don't know whether they planned on doing that, but it goes on that blue. When it dries, it's black, and you can really see when it's starting to dry up quite nicely, and you can, you know, oh, you know, it's all fucking 80% dry, you know, we can smash another coat on top of it. Yeah. So that's cool. Right, catch you tomorrow, and it'll be probably in the next video. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe if you can. Leave a comment, ask a question. You know, I'm happy to answer questions if anybody got any questions, wants to know something, whatever. Yeah, and if you want to help support the channel, there is a Teespring store there. I'm hoping if we can get to that, break that monetized sort of barrier shortly-ish, you know, not in the too far distant future. I thought the car shows might have been a bit better, but the weather sort of beat us a little bit, so I didn't quite get the numbers that I was hoping for some of them. But there is a couple of bigger ones coming up after Christmas, as long as the weather's good. I might try and do, especially if I can get monetized, I'll do a few giveaways and bits and pieces. I might buy some merch and send overseas, because I've been waiting to buy some merch myself, and I probably will do that. When I get the next payment from this, I'll get some gear myself, because I've been meaning to do it for a long time, but things haven't been financial enough. But starting to come right if things keep rolling with this, and you know, I've got that Land Rover to do, and yeah, I know there's some other vehicles to do as well, depending on obviously how things go with the world economy. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later on. Cheers.
Welcome to Iron Outlaws. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this.